Hi, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by SMS Law, going through the legal secrets that will benefit you and your clients, as well as having a little bit of fun as we go. This podcast is designed to educate you on, number one, complicated legal terms that we will explain in an easy to understand manner. Two, to understand why you do things from a legal perspective in your business. And three, to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Our mission is to help empower small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time that it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. This podcast is all about empowering you and your business with knowledge and tools to ensure that that doesn't happen to you or to your clients. Let's begin, shall we?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brisbane Professional Podcast. My name is Craig Mason from SMS Law, and I also have with me the famous Jeremy Stratton. Please say hello to everyone, please, Jeremy.
Hello, everyone. I'm not sure about famous, but I'll take it. And we've got a special guest with us today, which is exciting. Our first interview episode.
We do. You, if you're watching this, you could see there's a different person sitting there. And if you're listening to it, he's waving at you now. And we have with us, as Jeremy said, a very special guest. It's Mr. Steve Butler, who's the Regional Innovation Coordinator at Innovate Moreton Bay. So thanks, Steve, for joining us today.
That's welcome.
We're going to go through some questions with you, discuss a few things, what's happening in Moreton Bay and in the industry, and touch on some networking ideas as well. So Steve, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, specifically in the role that you're in now at Innovate Moreton Bay?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose to put in context with my role, it's quite a unique role, and I suppose there's no traditional career pathway to make it to where we are today. So predominantly hospitality was a very large part of my life in my younger years, the youth years. But jumping from various various entities within that. So whether it be from kitchens to hotels to function centres to cafes, etc. Following that, ended up exiting the hospitality industry and got into disability support, where I had the very fortunate position of helping out Lagoon Creek Cafe and the Wiltshire Community Work Cooperative and Better Together to establish that, pretty much giving any one of our staff, who are all paid by the hour, so no volunteer staff, that opportunity to be fully inclusive in a work environment, but get that hands-on experience moving forward from a professional development side of it. In between there, once I had some very young kids, I started I thought it was a brilliant idea off the top of my head, and I didn't want to be one of those people that was like, oh, I thought of that and I should have done it. So I took a bit of action and learnt the hard way, which I found out, which took me 5 years to figure that out, and created a startup, which was more of a product base with patents and trademarks, which was a new design of baby bib that actually kept kids clean. And yeah, got small amounts of investment and won some awards and doing all that kind of stuff, which I exited approximately 2 years ago. From that journey is actually got me to what I'm doing today. So my why is to help and save people time with everything I do, from my past roles in hospitality, disabilities, to the startup I had, to what I'm doing now. Because I did learn the hard way, that's now given me the opportunity to, let alone that shared knowledge that I've actually got from that experience being a founder, to be able to help other founders within our ecosystem and beyond. And when I say those shared experiences, it's not just from a business point, but it's the lifestyle of being a founder, which I'm sure both of you gentlemen have both witnessed yourself. And it's very hard for anyone to understand what journey they're going on, let alone their partners, their families, and the network that they surround themselves in. So that's pretty much my journey to what has got me doing what I am today as the coordinator for Innovate Moreton Bay, which identifies, inspires, and engages the regional innovation ecosystem of Moreton Bay and beyond.
Excellent. And if you're watching the video, you see Steve holding up his shirt, the great Innovate Moreton Bay shirts. Steve, you and I met when you were in your role at Laguna Creek Cafe. What did that teach you? I'm interested from a managing people point of view. Was that the first major role you had managing people? Did that teach you around managing teams and?
That was a very unique role as well. I've been manager in various, whether it be pubs, clubs, especially with hotels, from front of house to housekeeping to all different ones. I sort of see the journey as stepping stones. So once you stop learning or you lose that interest, there's no further opportunity for knowledge, it's time to move on to that organic next journey. Lagoon Creek Cafe really gave me the opportunity to, I suppose, bring out my strengths and also build on those, while obviously creating a lot of opportunities for other people. But it's coming into similar for a chef. You go through chefing, but you've got a head chef, which that's where I first started my very humble beginnings as a chef. Many moons ago. So this actually gave me the opportunity to come up with the base creation of the catering services, how the room, the level of service that I've always prided myself on. But not only from myself, I think what was more rewarding out of that I learned from is how to provide that opportunity for others. And being a leader or a manager, it's really just a title at the end of the day, but what you're doing is giving other people that capability to get to that next level and foster them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and for anyone who's our target audience is people based in Southeast Queensland. So if you're in the Caboolture area, or check out Laguna Creek Cafe. Really good little venue for a lunch. Little shout out to them for our podcast.
Also functions as well. Great function room there.
Also functions as well. Yes, absolutely. So now you're with Innovate Moreton Bay. How did that role come about? Is that through connections? How did you get into that industry?
A couple of years ago, or not a couple of years ago, I've been doing this role for about 3.5 years now, going on to 4 years. Prior to that, our region's very fortunate to have an awards program, which is spun from the Moreton Bay Innovation Awards to the Moreton Bay Region Business Excellence and Innovation Awards, in which our product Hugglebid was a finalist in 2016 or 2016, thereabouts, which was a great opportunity, learning curve, and experience for a founder, getting a bit of recognition for your product and a bit of validation. In which the following year we actually won the Innovation of the Year award, which was very unexpected, but felt very humbled at the same time. And then I was very focused on networking. So I'm a big believer in you are who you surround yourself with. If you stay in that circle, organically, you can't expect too much more to happen from that, or not within a rapid time. So through this award process, I was speaking to a few people in the room, and I was aware through my networks and engaging, going out to different networks, that there was this funding application available through Advanced Queensland called ARIP, or the Advancing Regional Innovation Program, in which I found out the organisation Moreton Bay Region Industry Tourism, or MBRIT, who now I work for, was putting in an application along with a very vast amount of other program partners, in which to date is SMS Law is also one of our proud partners. So honestly, I felt out of my league, but something just told me to speak up. And I said, look, how do I put my hand up for taking this on? I'd love to create an opportunity for this. I have a vision. This is my why. I want to help people. I've learned a lot along the way, and there's a lot more to learn. And I suppose all those little stepping stones I've had through my career, especially with customer service, but also from event management, like functions and those ones in hotels, to the catering, the logistics, and pulling everything together, which, in the event space or a program, etc. It really just gave me that confidence to go, I'd love to put my hand up, and I think I could do this. Or not, I know I could do this for you. And lo and behold, about 8 months later, the opportunity arose, and I entered the organisation before this funding was approved as their business relationship manager. in which then this organically transitions. So having those strong relationships and obviously the passion for that innovation space or the ecosystem space, sort of like a natural morphing role into that. Here we are today.
Indeed we are. Speaking of today, thanks for that background information. And sprinkled throughout that was some little nuggets of advice as well for people starting out in business or moving jobs or something like that. So thank you for that. But in terms of 2021, so we're now in April. It's come along quite quickly. But what's the focus of Innovate Moreton Bay for 2021?
Innovate, our primary focus, in short, our little pitch is to identify, inspire and engage within our ecosystem. So for those that are unaware what I'm referencing to as an ecosystem, it's all the key players, the feeders, the leaders, the founders, the programs, the investments, the capacity development, the youth programs. That's what we call an ecosystem. So at the end of the day, it's really what we're really good at from an Innovate Moreton Bay and all of our partners, just the same as SMS Law. And if you want to check out all our other partners, you can head over to our website, is we're extremely collaborative. So our motto is it's the return on intention rather than return on investment. So if we see an opportunity where we can collaborate through our various partners or industry key stakeholders throughout the region, if they're doing something and we can add value to it, that's where we start those conversations, try to identify synergies and really leveraging the resources that we have today, especially through MBRIT, or Moreton Bay Region Industry Tourism, from a storytelling point of view, and that marketing side of it. But then with the likes of USC as one of our partners, various research projects. So we've only just launched one about 2 weeks ago, which is quite fitting given we're putting on an event just before this snap 3-day lockdown around how businesses stayed resilient in challenging times. So this was all because of the lockdown last year in March, sorry. So over the last 10 months, for example, we've been reaching out to various industries, 20 different case studies on how they stayed resilient through these challenging times and adapted their businesses. So just from that research project, there was a lot of other collaborative outcomes that was able to come from that as a focus point of view. One of the biggest thing our focus is at the moment is the main key thing for an ecosystem is people. If you don't have people, you don't have an ecosystem. So we're very big on engagement. We're very big on face-to-face. We all are just people at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what our roles are, what we do for work. It's really connecting those dots. So knowing what each other's doing, asking people, how can we help you? If they don't know how we can help them, how can we help them? So it's really just encouraging that give first mentality and creating those connections, which ironically in the end come up with some really cool programs or stories or opportunities or capacity development, workshops, events, the list goes on. So at the moment we know what we're good at, and that's being heavily engaged within the ecosystem. But as long as it matches up to we're either identifying, inspiring or engaging, we're all ears open.
And one of the things that I love about Innovate Moreton Bay is it feels very unique in the sense that there's not a lot of other programs like that around, at least that I've seen. How unique is it? Is this something that other councils, other governments are doing, or is this a unique thing to Moreton Bay?
Yeah, so Innovate Moreton Bay is very unique for Moreton Bay. I suppose every component throughout Australia or the world, everyone's got ecosystems. What that ecosystem is, or the model, that would vary depending on what the challenges, the needs. For example, out say regional Queensland, you've got a very large geographical barrier that you've got to face. So their approach would be more digital connection, but also centralising of data. So for us, for example, like we could drive 30 minutes down the road, attend a workshop face to face, do some networking, then come home, plus still fit that into your normal, whatever your normal workday is or structure. But for regional Queensland, they might be needing to drive like 10 hours to get to a meeting. So it's just not viable. We do collaborate with a lot of other regions. So the ARIT program, or the Advancing Regional Innovation program, it was 12 regions all throughout Queensland, which Moreton Bay is one. Each region is different. We're all collaborative. We like to regularly catch up, create communities of practice, engage with the governments and different councils, especially with the next generation of founders, and really fostering that support moving forward. But yeah, in regards to how unique it is, Innovate Moreton Bay is quite very, very unique, as our partners are majority all in-kind partners. So it is more that return on intention. It's why would you like to be a partner? Where some of the other regions, for example, they could have some very large corporates that are financial partners, where it brings in the return on investment. So there's a different motto there. The other unique thing for Innovate Moreton Bay, or for Moreton Bay region, is we're surrounded by two extremely well-established ecosystems, being the CBD for one, Brisbane or Brisvegas, but also the Sunshine Coast, who's, before this role and everything, like Sunshine Coast was like poster child of ecosystems. So for how diverse our region is, and for some of your listeners that might not understand, but we're actually the third largest local government area in Australia for density of people. So that's a lot of people. But having the two ecosystems, both north and south of us, it's quicker for them to go to Brisbane or Sunshine Coast and engage with those ecosystems rather than one side of our region to another. So yeah, there are challenges, there's weaknesses, but there's always positives with various ecosystem models.
So one other question I wanted to ask, just about with the focus of Innovate Moreton Bay, is, you talk about the engaging and bringing people together. Can you give us an example or two of just where that's worked so far? I mean, I know that it has. I'm just curious for some examples of where that's worked in the ecosystem and how that's helped people.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you three quick examples. So I'll leave the best one for the last one, which is purely organic. So we've conducted over 3 years multiple showcases in some of Australia's biggest innovation festivals. So taking delegates, which Jeremy, you've also been one of those in the past. And so we actually go in, represent Moreton Bay, connect the dots, and you've got all these different founders from all throughout Queensland and the world, honestly, back then, that you could connect to, and you never know where that goes. There are some really big festivals. Another opportunity that we've done is our business conference series. So Innovate Moreton Bay has had the pleasure of naming rights for our regional business lunches. So we typically do 4 a year. So our last one we just had, we had Ida Buttrose, and we've got Julie Bishop coming up, just to give you the level of speakers that are engaged in these things. And then one of those 4 each year is dedicated to innovation. So Innovate Moreton Bay has put on some really cool activations, quite different to the other business conference series, but also engaging schools. So showcasing what schools are doing to validate their ideas, and giving them an opportunity, not just for the students, but also the teachers and the business community to have those serendipity collisions. And then actually involving them in the lunch and getting them part of the Q&A and the panel around education of various amounts of topics, for example, AI or virtual reality, and how that helps day-to-day life or business. But the one I'm most proud of, and it's because of our region and the demands there, we've been holding the Innovate Moreton Bay social catch-ups every month on the third Wednesday, every month, North Lake Sports Club from 3 to 5 p.m. There's no RSVP, there's no agenda, really. It's really just surrounding yourself with like-minded thinkers and thinkers. Some really cool stats that have come out of that is, like, we've been doing this for over 3.5 years now. So for an organic networking group, where there's no, I suppose, commitment to be part of the group, it's more being part of the ecosystem and stepping outside your line to increase your circle of connections, how I referenced earlier. Each month over the last 3.5 years, we've had on average 30% minimum of new people month on month coming along to this event. So the biggest one would have to be probably one of our Christmas breakups. We've got just under 90 people. Our smallest one, which was probably our first ever one, which I believe, Jeremy, you were there as well, which was 8 or 9 people.
Yep.
But yeah, like it's fully inclusive. So, from a startup point of view, how I mentioned earlier, I had a startup when I had young kids. I felt excluded from a lot of these networking events because I had to juggle my kids. I had nowhere to, I couldn't get them babysit. I felt like I couldn't take them with me because it's just how that is in that business networking space. There's a kids club where we catch up, so don't let that be an excuse. If how I mentioned before, you're unsure of the journey you're going on. It's that entrepreneurial roller coaster. But same as your partner. So bring your partner along and let them see the kind of people you're connecting with and where the value is in you attending that. There's no cost. There's no RSVP. If you want to buy a beer, you buy a beer. If you want to get some lunch, have some lunch. Every now and then we might throw a special guest in and throw on a few snacks. But yeah, that's probably been one of the most impactful things that everyone talks about today. And we've had some really cool collaborations come out of that where I can't go into too much detail until it actually happens, but we've got opportunities of sending stuff up in space. There's been new beers that created that have launched the Moreton Bay Food and Wine Festival, youth programs, award programs, really bringing out that entrepreneurial agenda or giving the confidence for people that are entrepreneurs, but they don't see themselves as entrepreneurs. So giving them that support and connecting the dots to be recognized for this. But as I mentioned before, the biggest thing with this event is I always like to ask people, how can I help you? So majority of the people that do come, they either go, that's a very good question, I'll answer that next time, or they know how they could help. And then once I know that, we can identify synergies and connections and connect the dots very quickly.
Yeah, and I'll just say, just to plug that those events are really good. I'll have to get you along to one, Craig. They're good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think business networking is vitally important, and I'd encourage everyone to join it, as Steve said. And it's a good place to start by the sounds of it. If it doesn't seem like a traditional networking group.
I suppose the beauty of it is that everyone's just like-minded. So you might feel like you're the only one going through the experience you're going through, but trust me, there's other people that have been through it and we're willing to share that experience as well. So it's never called a failure, it's called a learning. So we can always learn from that, and we'd like to share that so then other people don't follow the ways that we had to the hard way.
You'll have to trademark that word, learning. I love it.
Need to talk to some lawyers about it, mate.
Now, you touched on your Innovate Moreton Bay and just the website. So that's innovatemoretonbay.com.au.
Correct.
And the MBRIT one as well. So encourage everyone to jump on that and check it out. Is that, you're talking about the resilience project for last year and the businesses. Is the information around that available on the website?
Certainly is. If you head to innovatemoretonbay.com.au, just go to one of the About Us key projects on the tab. First one that will come up is the business, or how businesses stay resilient in challenging times, which gives you access to the full executive copy. You can either download it in PDF or there's an issue form up there. Plus, you've also got 20 individual case studies that made up this executive report. On their learnings, on how they did and their words of advice for other people. Highly recommend it. It's very motivating, and it's really, really good to see the positives that can come from what some people think is a negative. But it's really about being resilient, and I suppose one big trend that came out of it is it's pure collaboration. Not many people can do this stuff on their own, nor should they have to. But because of their networks and their trusted networks and putting that faith to collaborate with others, that's one of the biggest trends that have come from this. And I suppose that also comes back to one of our other findings, which I'm sure everyone's seen at the moment, is around health and wellbeing, not just for founders, but small businesses, organisations, everyone, given the uncertainties we're having. And that's where our socials are really, really good for that. Because you can surround yourself with people and talk openly, which at the end of the day, it's really good for yourself to be able to vent, well, not so much vent, but be able to willingly discuss certain things which some people might see as weaknesses, but really you're just being part of an ecosystem that everyone else is going through the same thing, and it just builds those valued relationships.
Yeah, good advice. Absolutely. So 2021, collaborate, get out there, go to networking events, talk to people.
Yeah, if I can leave with networking, I do this high five rule. So one big thing I'm sort of attracted to when I go to networks is those people that are standing in the corner by themselves on a phone, looking for example, I've seen some at various chamber events or other events, and you're unsure why they're part of a network, because I don't know if they go for just a free breakfast, or they're not networking, or they don't have that confidence in them. So for those people, if you feel that's the point, or you're sometimes a little unsettled about being in new environments, especially I've heard it time and time before with Innovate Moreton Bay, because people just don't know anyone. They're stepping out of their comfort zone to meet all these people that are having laughs and telling stories and doing everything. High five rule. So 5 easy actions. It could be whatever you want. Easiest one I say is try to meet 3 people. Tick, you've done that. Maybe get a photo of an event for socials or your LinkedIn to show that you're actively engaged within the business community, and maybe set up a follow-up action or a meeting with someone. 5 simple things you can do, and that way you've actually got that sense of accountability, or not accountability, a sense of accomplishment when you leave. And I've seen that model, or how with the various networks I go to, how well that actually works, especially for those that are don't get out much. They're very isolated, and don't get that. They don't have that personal confidence just to go up and start a conversation with someone.
Yeah, and it's such an important thing for business building, is learning how to network. So that's a really great tip that people should use. Don't be that person, just handing out business cards, because most people just either put them in their second drawer, which is where everything goes that they don't want to deal with, or it goes in the bin. So always make sure you've got an action following up from that, I think is really good advice. So thank you for that. Tell us about, so with Innovate Moreton Bay, obviously, your industry, along with everyone else's, was impacted severely by the pandemic in 2020. So just to reiterate, we're recording this in April 21, in case things change in the future for any future listeners. What have you seen change for you as in your industry because of the pandemic?
Within our industry, or within our ecosystem, I'll say, because there's various industries within our ecosystem. So I think people have actually come to appreciate the smaller things, and especially those unique opportunities to network face to face. I think the digital capacity is, for a lot of people, they've had no other choice but to adapt it. To stay relevant, to keep their capacity development while everyone was locked down. I truly see a drop-off of, like, say, online webinars and stuff like that, even though everyone's got access to it from Zoom now. The drop-off I'm seeing is because there's so much opportunity out there. Like, from face-to-face, you're limited on the events where you can go to from a geographical area, unless you're traveling. But online, you could go to any event in the world. But then as soon as you start subscribing, your inbox getting full, and then you get overwhelmed. You don't know what to do, where the value is. Within our space as well, it's really brought out that give first mentality, and making sure that we're in this together. As I said, we're all just people, no matter what we do, but everyone's checking up on each other and seeing how they are. And it's really encouraging to see how many more people are now saying, how can I help you? Because they see the value that they can help others. From an industry point of view, tourism is quite an impacted industry, and obviously the Moreton Bay region industry and tourism. We've started a tourism social catch-up for tourism providers. So we've got one coming up in Caboolture very, very soon around accessibility. So with disability accessibility within tourism events, etc. But it's also, for example, one of our case studies, so it's public, you can see it on our website, would be the Abbey Museum. So they're the largest medieval festival in the Southern Hemisphere, I believe, if not maybe the world. It's pretty big. And that's their main revenue for the whole year. Everything drives around this one event. Last year, they couldn't do it. So they actually pivoted. They made all their meads and everything that they normally sell, so they'll sell them online on eBay and do all this stuff. And they created an online shop, and they did these other experiences, and they engage their audience a lot differently to have that better impact. So when the next event's coming up, which they're in planning for, it's actually diversified the offering that they can do. I suppose other ones would be, a lot of it is digital. So STEM Punks, who's another one of our regional innovators, they do education for STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, for school kids, holidays, teacher programs, incursions, events, etc. Obviously, every lockdown, they couldn't do that. So within under a week, they converted all to an online model, which now they're winning global awards. They've got a global audience. And that was just by embracing the opportunity that was there, even though they might have had it on their cards moving forward, but it really gave them that opportunity to focus in on this, to increase that engagement, and that's changed our whole business model moving forward.
Excellent. And what about for the next year? What do you see unfolding? Crystal ball stuff.
Oh, that's $1 million question unfolding. I suppose the beauty with innovation, and one thing I really like about it, or the innovation ecosystem development, is we have to be very agile. Like, as we found out last week we had a 3-day snap lockdown, so our events are cancelled, all this is cancelled. It's really about just embracing the opportunities that are coming. So you see that a lot within businesses going into research and development, or R&D, with certain products, where they might not have as much full focus on it, but they're still making sure that they haven't got all their eggs in one basket, because if that basket collapses or the bottom falls out of it, off go the eggs. Where it's really being agile. Time's going to change. I think we're only just seeing the start of the impacts that have happened for businesses. So we've got the cliff that we've just come over, or the end of JobKeeper, which ironically was through that day lockdown. So we're starting to see a big shift in different businesses, whether identifying their runway or what their runway is to when they have to close the doors, especially from their staff and from their own financial positioning. You've got a new generation, so automation. There's a lot of stuff that businesses are focused in automation, especially with manufacturing and ag tech, etc. That's going to be a very interesting space moving forward, especially with AI as well. I think AI is going to be on the cards. It's amazing what that can do. I'm hopeful to potentially be able to deliver an event for later in the year on behalf of Innovate Moreton Bay around AI, and create a bit more awareness around how we can smartly use this through various industries for the benefit of that. But I think the biggest one that people are now realizing now is it's coming back to collaboration. If you want to innovate, you got to collaborate. There's only so much you can do as a person. So know what your strengths are in this space, and then surround yourself with everyone else that you need to be, and keep building those networks.
Yeah, excellent. I don't know how we're going with time, Jeremy. I didn't pay attention to when we started, but been listening to Steve. But it's
We're good. We're good.
Your passion and your enthusiasm for your role, I think it really rubs off, and it's great to see and great to hear you talk about it.
Cool. If I can leave you with a few links that might be of reference, and it's all free for your listeners as well. So obviously, check out innovatemoretonbay.com.au. You can find everything out about us, what we do, our key projects, opportunities for events, grants, funding, etc. But also check out businessmoretonbayregion.com.au. So through last year, as an immediate response to industry, we had a big focus, because obviously we can do physical events face-to-face from an engagement point of view, which is what we do best. So we did go a lot of digital, in which I know we've had the pleasure of Jeremy presenting some of these, but we've got a full library of treadmill, micro, e-learning, professional development, capacity development modules online. So it's pretty much for the 5 stages of business. So intending to start, starting to start, running a business, closing a business, and growing a business. And then from there, there's free resources left, right, and center. It could be around networking, it could be around recruitment, it could be around HR, digital marketing, it could be around expansion or applying for grants or applying for awards and stuff like that. But it's a great resource. It's free for everyone. So I'd highly recommend if you ever get a bit of downtime and you want to do some capacity development, definitely check out that.
And the networking group?
Yeah, and our networking, Innovate Moreton Bay, you can find it all on our website as well. But the third Wednesday of every month from 3 to 5 p.m. at North Lake Sports Club. As I said, everyone's welcome. There's no price, there's no RSVP. You just rock up. Just look for me wearing the shirt or someone else from our ecosystem wearing the shirt, and that will be more than happy to introduce you. And yeah, you don't have to be there at 3. You can rock up at 4:30 if you like. Yeah, the idea is we're there from 3 to 5 at least, and you can come and go as you wish. For other big events to stay up to date, either on the Innovate Moreton Bay website or businessmortonbayregion.com.au. As I said, we've got some big speakers coming up moving forward, and all going well. In lieu of not being able to deliver it last year, we'll have our very well-known Moreton Bay Region Business Excellence and Innovation Award. So I highly recommend everyone that's living in the Moreton Bay region to be nominating for this. It's a great opportunity. It's a great networking event. And just remember when times are tough, Moreton Bay's tougher.
Absolutely. And I plug on all that stuff. I've been involved with a lot of that stuff over the years. And thanks to you, Steve, for bringing me into that. And they're all really great events. So thank you so much for your time. Craig, is there anything you want to finish up with for today?
No, I don't think so. That's it for the questions of Steve, unless he's got anything else he wants to share. But as I said, there's plenty of nuggets sprinkled throughout what you've been talking about today, Steve. And we thank you for joining us and being so open and giving up your time to spend half an hour with us.
Well, welcome. As I said, I might finish on what I normally finish off at any networks or meetings I'm at, but for all your audiences or your listeners, how can I help you? So if there's something I can do to help you connect into our ecosystem, please reach out at steve.butler@mbrit.com.au. Alternatively, just go to innovatemoretonbay.com.au, contact us, and you'll get connected with myself directly.
And we'll get links to all that stuff put in our show notes as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And on behalf of our ecosystem, I just want to say a big thank you to SMS Law as well for being a very proud and loyal program partner. As I said, we can't do this by ourselves, so it takes a village it takes a tribe to raise a village, and slowly, surely, it's a marathon, not a race. So without the dedication of especially with SMS Law, from referrals and helping us out with workshops and actively being part of the decision-making process and the future of Innovate Moreton Bay, that's pretty much how we can still keep doing what we're doing.
Thanks, Steve. And whilst we're sharing the love, a small favour to ask to our listeners, not to you, Steve. You can get on there too if you like. But just the listeners or viewers, please rate and review the podcast. 5-star reviews are welcomed. And any comments you want to leave. Obviously, the more people that rate and review it, the more people it gets out to, and we get a larger following in this community to get things like what we've been speaking about today, which was invaluable information. As Jeremy said, we'll share some links in relation to what Steve's been talking about, the websites, etc. Please also like SMS Law on Facebook and Innovate Moreton Bay and anything else on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Search for us on LinkedIn and all those platforms. We share information throughout the years and the days on those platforms. So jump on there, get involved in the community. As Steve said, we work together, and going forward, collaboration and being part of a community is going to be vitally important in the times we're living in. So we encourage everyone to get involved. Gents, that's us. We're done. We'll see everyone next time.
See you next time.